Every night you promise yourself tomorrow will be different. You will wake up earlier, focus harder, stop wasting time. Finally take control of your life. But days keep passing and nothing truly changes. The same distractions return, the same excuses appear. Deep down you know you are capable of more, but your habits keep pulling you backward. This audiobook is not about extreme routines or fake motivation. It is about one focused hour a day that can slowly rebuild your mind, your discipline, your confidence, and your future. You will learn how to stay consistent during hard days, protect your energy from negative people, control destructive thoughts, and build daily habits that create real, lasting change. By the end of this journey, you will understand why small, disciplined actions can completely transform the direction of your life. 1 hour can become the difference between staying stuck and becoming the person you were meant to be. Chapter 1. Commit 1 focused hour daily to transform your life. Most people destroy their future without noticing it. Not because they are lazy, not because they are weak, not because they lack talent. They destroy it because they keep waiting for the perfect time to begin. They spend years saying they will change tomorrow, while their habits quietly build the same painful life again and again. Days become months, months become years. Then one day they look at their life and realize they stayed in the same place while time kept moving forward without mercy. A person can waste an entire decade through small daily neglect. 1 hour wasted every day may not feel dangerous in the moment. It feels harmless. 1 hour scrolling through meaningless content. 1 hour complaining about life. 1 hour avoiding difficult work. 1 hour sleeping longer than necessary. 1 hour sitting in fear instead of action. But when repeated daily, those hours slowly become a weaker mind, weaker discipline, weaker confidence, and weaker future. The opposite is also true. 1 focused hour every single day can completely rebuild a person from the inside out. 1 hour of learning can create intelligence. 1 hour of exercise can rebuild health. 1 hour of reading can strengthen wisdom. 1 hour of skill building can create opportunity. 1 hour of silence and reflection can heal emotional chaos. 1 hour of disciplined effort repeated consistently can change the direction of an entire life. The problem is not lack of time. The problem is lack of intention. Many people wake up and immediately surrender their attention to the world. Before their feet touch the floor, their mind is already crowded with noise, notifications, opinions, messages, entertainment, fear, comparison, distraction. Their mind becomes scattered before the day even begins. Then they wonder why they feel tired, unmotivated, and emotionally weak. A distracted mind cannot build a strong life. A focused hour is powerful because it trains something deeper than productivity. It trains self-control. It teaches the mind to obey purpose instead of emotion. It teaches a person how to direct energy intentionally instead of reacting to every impulse and distraction. Most people live emotionally. They act only when they feel motivated, but are unstable. Some mornings energy feels high, other mornings the body feels heavy and the mind feels resistant. If action depends on emotion, consistency becomes impossible. A disciplined person understands something important. Action must continue even when emotion disappears. That is where transformation begins. The first focused hour is often uncomfortable. The mind resists structure because it has become addicted to stimulation and comfort. Sitting quietly to study feels difficult. Exercising feels difficult. Writing feels difficult. Building skills feels difficult. Not because the task is impossible, but because the mind has been trained to chase easier rewards. Modern life rewards distraction. Every platform fights for attention. Every notification pulls focus away from meaningful work. Every moment of boredom pushes people toward entertainment. Over time, the brain loses its ability to sit still and work deeply. Many people can no longer focus for even 15 minutes without reaching for their phone. This is dangerous because a distracted person becomes weak against life. When difficulty arrives, they panic easily. When discomfort appears, they quit quickly. When goals require patience, they lose interest. They become controlled by impulses instead of principles. A focused hour retrains the mind. At first, the mind becomes restless. Thoughts jump everywhere. The body searches for excuses. Suddenly, cleaning the room feels urgent. Checking messages feels necessary. Hunger appears even when food was eaten recently. The brain will invent endless distractions. because discipline threatens the comfort zone that has controlled life for years. This is normal. The battle during that first hour is not really against work. It is against the undisciplined version of yourself that has been running your life automatically. That version wants comfort without effort, rewards without sacrifice, results without patience. Transformation begins the moment a person stops obeying that version. Imagine waking up tomorrow and dedicating 1 uninterrupted hour to improving your future. No phone, no entertainment, no distractions. Only one meaningful activity connected to growth: reading, studying, exercising, building a business, practicing communication, learning a skill, planning your future, reflecting honestly about your habits. That single hour may feel small, but it creates something powerful. Evidence. Evidence changes identity. When a person repeatedly keeps promises to themselves, their self-respect grows. Confidence does not come from motivational speeches. It comes from personal proof. Every focused hour becomes proof that discipline is possible. Proof that change is happening. Proof that the mind can be trained. Most people underestimate the psychological power of keeping small promises consistently. A person who says they will wake up early and actually does it begins trusting themselves more. A person who says they will study daily and follows through develops inner strength. Self-trust becomes stronger each time action matches intention. Without self-trust, people live with silent disappointment in themselves. They constantly break promises internally. They say they will improve but continue repeating destructive habits. Eventually, they stop believing in their own words. This destroys confidence deeply because the mind remembers every abandoned commitment. 1 focused hour daily repairs that broken relationship with yourself. The key is consistency, not intensity. Many people fail because they try to change their entire life overnight. They create impossible routines filled with unrealistic expectations. They push themselves aggressively for a few days, then collapse emotionally from exhaustion. After failing, they feel guilty and discouraged. Real discipline is quieter than that. Real discipline understands the power of gradual progress. A tree does not grow in one day. Muscles do not strengthen after one workout. Wisdom does not appear after reading one book. Change happens through repeated effort that seems small in the moment, but becomes powerful over time. 1 hour daily for 1 year equals 365 hours of focused growth. Most people never dedicate that amount of concentrated effort toward improving themselves. Imagine spending 365 hours learning communication skills, studying financial discipline, building physical health, developing emotional resilience, learning writing, speaking, leadership, or business. A completely different person would emerge from that process. The future is shaped by repeated daily behavior, not dramatic temporary effort. Many people waste years searching for motivation while ignoring structure. Motivation is unreliable because it changes daily. Structure creates stability. A person with structure continues moving forward even when motivation disappears. This is why the focused hour should happen at the same time every day whenever possible. The brain learns through repetition. Habits become easier when tied to consistent routines. A person who trains every morning eventually stops debating whether to do it. Action becomes automatic. Decision fatigue disappears when discipline becomes identity. 1 important truth must be understood clearly. The focused hour should not only improve external success, it must also strengthen inner character. Many people achieve money while remaining emotionally weak internally. They become successful publicly, while privately living with anxiety, frustration, anger, insecurity, and lack of control over themselves. External success without internal discipline creates emptiness. A strong life requires internal order. During the focused hour, spend time developing emotional awareness. Observe thoughts honestly. Notice emotional triggers. Examine destructive habits without denial. Most people spend their lives distracted because silence forces them to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. Stillness reveals reality. A person sitting quietly may suddenly realize how much fear controls decisions, how much insecurity shapes behavior, how much time has been wasted seeking approval. These realizations are painful but necessary because awareness creates the possibility for change. Avoiding self-reflection keeps people trapped. A disciplined person learns to face truth directly without excuses. They stop blaming parents, society, circumstances, or bad luck for every problem. They take responsibility for their actions, habits, and mindset. This responsibility feels heavy at first, but eventually becomes empowering because responsibility gives control back to the individual. A victim mindset weakens people. Personal responsibility strengthens them. The focused hour also teaches patience, which has become rare in modern culture. Most people want immediate results. They quit when progress feels slow. They compare their beginning to someone else's years of experience and become discouraged. This impatience destroys countless dreams before they have time to grow. Real growth often feels invisible at first. A person exercising may not see physical change immediately. A person reading daily may not notice wisdom developing instantly. A person practicing communication may still feel awkward early on. But hidden progress is still progress. Roots grow underground before trees become visible. Many people quit during the invisible stage because they mistake slow growth for failure. A disciplined person continues anyway. One focused hour daily also creates emotional stability because consistent action reduces chaos. Much anxiety comes from avoidance. People delay important tasks, then feel overwhelmed by the pressure they created. They avoid improving their health, then feel frustrated by low energy. They ignore financial discipline, then feel trapped by money problems. Avoidance creates suffering. Action creates clarity. When a person consistently works on important areas of life, they begin feeling calmer internally because they know they are moving forward instead of escaping reality. Even small progress creates hope. Hope is powerful. Not false hope built on fantasy, but real hope built on evidence and effort. There will still be difficult days. Discipline does not remove pain from life. Some mornings exhaustion will appear. Some days motivation will disappear completely. Some moments failure, embarrassment, rejection, or uncertainty will shake confidence. But disciplined action creates resilience during those moments. A weak mind says, stop when discomfort appears. A trained mind says, continue. That difference changes everything. There are people who change their entire future through one consistent daily hour. Students who escaped poverty by studying quietly every morning before work. People who rebuilt broken health through daily exercise. Writers who created books page by page. Entrepreneurs who built businesses slowly after exhausting work shifts. Individuals who healed emotionally through reflection, journaling, meditation, and learning emotional control. None of them transformed overnight. They transformed through repetition. Most life-changing progress looks boring in the moment. Repetition is not exciting. Discipline is not always emotionally intense. Often it feels ordinary, quiet, repetitive. But ordinary, repeated actions create extraordinary outcomes over time. The focused hour is not about chasing perfection. Perfection creates pressure and fear. The goal is progress. Some days performance will feel strong. Other days focus will feel weak. Continue anyway. A mediocre session completed consistently is more powerful than a perfect session done occasionally. Consistency builds identity. Eventually, something important begins happening internally. Discipline stops feeling forced. The person who once struggled to focus begins craving growth naturally. The person who once feared difficult work develops pride in effort. The person who once avoided discomfort becomes mentally tougher. This is the reward of discipline. Not only external success, but inner transformation. A person who controls attention controls life. Attention is one of the most valuable forms of power because whatever receives attention grows stronger. Constant attention toward fear strengthens fear. Constant attention toward distractions weakens focus. Constant attention toward growth strengthens character. Protect attention carefully. Many people protect money more carefully than they protect their mind. They waste hours daily consuming negativity, gossip, meaningless entertainment, and emotional noise, then wonder why they feel mentally exhausted. The mind absorbs what it repeatedly experiences. Feed the mind carefully. During your focused hour, choose activities that strengthen intelligence, emotional stability, physical health, discipline, wisdom, or practical skills. Avoid activities that only create temporary stimulation without long-term value. There is another truth many people avoid. Life becomes harder when discipline is absent. People often think discipline is restrictive, but the opposite is true. Lack of discipline creates greater suffering. Poor health creates pain. Financial irresponsibility creates stress. Emotional impulsiveness damages relationships. Laziness creates regret. Avoidance creates anxiety. Discipline creates freedom. A disciplined body moves with energy. A disciplined mind handles pressure calmly. A disciplined financial life reduces fear. A disciplined emotional life creates healthier relationships. Temporary discomfort creates long-term strength. Temporary comfort often creates long-term pain. The focused hour is an investment into the future version of yourself. Every day you either strengthen your future or weaken it through repeated choices. No decision disappears. Habits accumulate quietly. The person you become next year is being shaped right now by repeated daily behavior. That should create urgency. Not panic, but awareness. Time moves regardless of readiness. Every wasted year becomes impossible to recover completely. This is why daily action matters. Waiting for the perfect moment wastes life. Conditions will never become perfect. Fear will never disappear completely. Confidence often appears after action, not before it. Begin before feeling ready. Most successful people were uncertain in the beginning. They simply continued despite uncertainty. Action created clarity gradually. A person who commits one focused hour daily develops something rare in modern life: mental endurance. The ability to direct attention intentionally despite distractions, emotions, or discomfort. This ability creates advantage in every area of life because most people never develop it. In a distracted world, focus becomes power. In an undisciplined world, consistency becomes rare. In a world addicted to comfort, resilience becomes valuable. Your life can begin changing quietly starting today. Not through dramatic announcements, not through temporary motivation, not through wishing, hoping, or fantasizing. Real change begins through repeated disciplined action. Nobody applauds initially. Wake up tomorrow and protect 1 hour for your future. Guard it seriously. Treat it like an appointment with the person you are capable of becoming. During that hour, remove distractions completely. Sit down with intention. Do difficult, meaningful work even when resistance appears. Some days the work will feel heavy. Continue. Some days progress will feel invisible. Continue. Some days doubt will whisper that nothing is changing. Continue. Because transformation is happening even when emotions cannot see it yet. One focused hour daily may seem small, but small repeated actions shape destiny. Entire lives collapse through repeated neglect, and entire lives rebuild through repeated discipline. The choice happens quietly every day. Years from now, there are two possible versions of you waiting in the future. One version continued living distracted, emotionally reactive, and inconsistent. The other version committed daily time toward growth, wisdom, discipline, and self-mastery. The distance between those two lives may only be one focused hour each day. Chapter 2. Eliminate daily distractions that quietly destroy your future. A person rarely ruins their future through one massive mistake. Most damage happens quietly through small daily distractions that appear harmless in the moment. A few minutes wasted here, another hour lost there. Endless scrolling before sleep. Constant checking of notifications. Conversations that lead nowhere. Entertainment used to escape responsibility. None of these actions feel dangerous individually. That is why they are so powerful. Distraction steals life in small, invisible pieces. Many people wake up every morning with goals in their mind, but spend the entire day reacting to whatever grabs their attention first. Their focus gets pulled in every direction until the day ends and nothing meaningful has been completed. Then frustration appears, guilt appears, stress appears. They promise themselves tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow repeats the same pattern because the real problem was never lack of ambition. The real problem was lack of control over attention. Attention decides the quality of a life. Whatever controls your attention eventually controls your direction. If distraction controls your attention, your future becomes weak, unstable, and unfocused. If purpose controls your attention, your life begins moving with clarity and strength. Modern life is built to interrupt concentration constantly. Every application, every platform, every notification, every piece of endless content competes aggressively for human attention. Many people no longer experience silence because their minds are continuously flooded with stimulation from the moment they wake up until the moment they sleep. This constant noise slowly weakens the mind. A distracted brain becomes impatient. Deep thinking becomes difficult. Reading feels exhausting. Quiet reflection feels uncomfortable. Even simple tasks begin feeling mentally heavy because the mind has been trained to expect constant stimulation every few seconds. This creates a dangerous cycle. The more distracted a person becomes, the harder meaningful work feels. The harder meaningful work feels, the more they escape into distraction. Over time, they lose confidence in their ability to focus deeply. They begin believing they are lazy, unmotivated, or incapable, when the real issue is that their attention has been fragmented for years. A scattered mind struggles to build a strong future. Most people underestimate how much distraction damages emotional health. Constant stimulation overstimulates the nervous system. The brain never fully rests. Thoughts become chaotic, anxiety increases, patience decreases. Many people feel mentally exhausted not because life is impossible, but because their mind never experiences stillness. Silence has become unfamiliar to many people. Some individuals cannot sit alone quietly for even 10 minutes without reaching for their phone. The moment discomfort appears, they immediately search for entertainment. They avoid boredom at all costs without realizing boredom is often the doorway to creativity, clarity, and self-awareness. A person discovers important truths during silence. Without distractions, hidden thoughts rise to the surface. Regret appears, fear appears, unfinished goals appear, emotional pain appears. Many people stay distracted because distraction temporarily numbs uncomfortable emotions. But avoidance never heals anything. Ignored problems grow quietly in darkness. Distraction delays growth. Every hour spent escaping reality is an hour not spent improving reality. There are people with enormous potential living average lives because their focus has been destroyed by endless distraction. Intelligence alone is not enough. Talent alone is not enough. Opportunity alone is not enough. Without focused attention, nothing meaningful can be built consistently. A distracted person starts many things but finishes very little. Books remain unread. Goals remain incomplete. Skills remain undeveloped. Dreams remain imaginary. Years pass while intentions stay trapped inside the mind instead of becoming action. One of the biggest lies modern culture teaches is that being constantly busy means being productive. Many people fill their day with activity but accomplish very little that actually improves their future. They answer messages endlessly, consume content for hours, jump between tasks constantly, yet at the end of the week, nothing important has moved forward. Movement is not always progress. Real progress requires concentration. Deep, focused work creates results because meaningful improvement demands sustained attention. Learning a valuable skill requires uninterrupted practice. Building physical strength requires disciplined repetition. Developing wisdom requires reflection and study. Strong relationships require presence and listening. None of these grow properly inside a distracted lifestyle. The first step toward reclaiming focus is becoming brutally honest about where time is actually going. Many people claim they have no time to improve their life while spending several hours daily on activities that provide no long-term value. This truth can feel uncomfortable, but awareness is necessary. A person cannot change what they refuse to examine honestly. Spend one day observing your habits carefully. Notice how often the phone is checked unnecessarily. Notice how quickly attention drifts during important tasks. Notice how often boredom triggers automatic scrolling. Notice how many conversations drain energy without adding wisdom, encouragement, or purpose. Most distractions enter life through repetition, not importance. What begins as a small habit eventually becomes automatic behavior. A person may open social media for 5 minutes, but remain trapped for an hour. They may watch one short video, then lose focus for the rest of the evening. Small distractions often create larger consequences than expected because they destroy momentum. Momentum matters deeply. When focus breaks repeatedly, the brain struggles to return to deep concentration. Productivity slows. Frustration increases. Mental fatigue grows. The task itself may not be difficult, but constant interruptions make everything feel harder. Protecting focus requires intentional boundaries. Not every notification deserves attention. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every conversation deserves energy. Not every opinion deserves emotional reaction. Wise people become selective with what enters their mind. Mental discipline means choosing carefully what deserves attention and what deserves rejection. A person who allows every distraction into their life eventually loses control over their direction. There is a major difference between entertainment and recovery. Recovery restores energy intentionally. Entertainment often becomes endless, unconscious consumption. A short period of relaxation can be healthy after disciplined work. But constant entertainment weakens ambition slowly. Many people no longer know how to rest without overstimulating themselves. True recovery may include silence reading, walking, reflection exercise, journaling, meaningful conversation, prayer, meditation, or simply sitting peacefully without noise. These activities calm the nervous system instead of overwhelming it. A distracted lifestyle also damages emotional resilience. When the mind constantly escapes discomfort, it never develops endurance. Small inconveniences begin feeling unbearable. Waiting becomes frustrating. Difficult conversations become terrifying. Hard work feels overwhelming. The person loses emotional tolerance because they have trained themselves to avoid discomfort immediately. Strength grows through resistance, not avoidance. Every moment you resist unnecessary distraction, you strengthen self-control. Every moment you remain focused despite temptation, you build discipline. These small decisions seem invisible, but they reshape character gradually. A focused person develops inner stability. They become less reactive emotionally because their attention is no longer controlled by every external stimulus. They think more clearly, speak more intentionally, work more effectively. Their mind feels calmer because energy is directed instead of scattered. One important truth must be understood clearly. Not all distractions are digital. Some distractions come through toxic environments. Some arrive through negative relationships. Some appear through constant gossip, meaningless drama, or people who drain emotional energy daily. There are individuals who secretly destroy their future by surrounding themselves with people who encourage laziness, excuses, and mediocrity. Every conversation becomes negativity. Every dream becomes criticized. Every goal becomes mocked. Over time, motivation weakens because environment influences mindset deeply. Protecting focus sometimes requires limiting access to certain people. This does not mean becoming cold, arrogant, or isolated. It means recognizing that energy is valuable. Time is valuable. Attention is valuable. Constant exposure to negativity quietly shapes beliefs and behavior. A disciplined person becomes intentional about environment. They choose conversations that encourage growth. They spend time with people who respect ambition, honesty, effort, and accountability. They reduce exposure to environments that promote distraction, irresponsibility, and emotional chaos. Another hidden distraction is overthinking. Some people appear physically inactive because their mind is trapped in endless mental noise. They analyze every possibility, fear every outcome, and delay every important decision. Hours disappear through worrying instead of acting. Thinking has value only when it leads toward clarity or action. Excessive thinking without movement creates paralysis. Many opportunities disappear because people spend too much time doubting themselves instead of beginning. Action creates momentum. Clarity often appears during movement, not before it. The mind becomes stronger when trained to complete one task at a time with full attention. Multitasking weakens depth. Constantly switching focus reduces quality thinking and increases mental exhaustion. Train yourself to finish what you start. Sit with the task fully. Resist the urge to check messages every few minutes. Stay present. Even if focus feels difficult initially, continue practicing. Attention improves through repetition, just like physical strength improves through exercise. A person who masters focus gains a major advantage in life because most people never learn this skill. In a distracted world, concentrated attention becomes rare and valuable. There is also deep emotional freedom in removing unnecessary distractions. Life feels lighter. The mind feels cleaner. Thoughts become clearer. Decisions become easier. The nervous system relaxes because it is no longer overloaded constantly. Many people feel lost not because they lack purpose, but because their attention has been buried beneath endless noise for too long. Silence helps purpose return. When distractions decrease, people often rediscover forgotten goals, passions, and values. They remember the person they wanted to become before life became consumed by noise and reaction. This process requires courage because distraction often hides uncomfortable truths. Without constant entertainment, some people realize they are unhappy in their current habits, relationships, or routines. That realization can feel painful, but pain sometimes becomes the beginning of transformation. Facing truth creates the possibility for change. Escaping truth only extends suffering. There will always be distractions available. The world will continue demanding attention aggressively. Endless content will continue appearing every day. Noise will never disappear completely. This is why discipline matters. A strong mind does not follow every impulse automatically. It chooses intentionally. Every day you are either feeding distraction or feeding purpose. Every hour spent carelessly shapes identity slowly. A focused future cannot be built on distracted habits. Protect your mornings carefully. Protect your evenings carefully. Protect moments of concentration carefully. These periods shape your thinking more than you realize. A person who controls attention controls direction. Imagine the difference between two people after 5 years. One spends daily life reacting emotionally, consuming endless entertainment, avoiding discomfort, and living without focus. The other protects their attention, works, consistently develops, skills, reflects deeply, and removes unnecessary distractions from their environment. The gap between their lives will become enormous. Not because one person was born superior, but because one person learned to guard attention while the other surrendered it freely. Your future is being shaped right now by what repeatedly receives your focus. If distraction dominates your days, your potential slowly weakens. If discipline guides your attention, your life begins strengthening from the inside outward. Do not wait for perfect conditions to reclaim control over your mind. Begin today. Turn off unnecessary noise. Sit in silence longer. Finish important tasks completely. Spend less time consuming and more time creating. Reduce the habits that steal energy without improving life. A powerful future requires a focused mind. And a focused mind is built through daily decisions nobody else can make for you. Chapter 3. Build powerful morning habits that strengthen self-discipline. The way a person begins the morning often shapes the direction of the entire day. Before the world becomes loud, before responsibilities begin demanding attention, before pressure and distractions start pulling the mind in different directions, there is a small window of time that quietly determines mental strength, emotional stability, and self-discipline. Most people waste that window without realizing its value. They wake up already tired, emotionally scattered, and mentally reactive. Their first action is not reflection, not movement, not preparation, and not gratitude. Their first action is reaching for a phone. Within minutes, the mind becomes crowded with notification, opinions, stress, entertainment, and comparison. The brain immediately enters reaction mode instead of intentional living. This creates weakness before the day even truly begins. A powerful morning is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about teaching the mind that purpose comes before comfort. A disciplined morning trains the brain to act intentionally instead of emotionally. Over time, this changes not only productivity, but also identity. Many people believe self-discipline is built during dramatic moments of challenge. In reality, discipline is usually built through ordinary decisions repeated quietly every morning. Waking up when the alarm rings, making the bed, drinking water instead of immediately consuming stimulation, moving the body before excuses appear, sitting in silence for a few minutes instead of rushing into chaos. These actions seem small, but they create psychological momentum. The mind is always learning from behavior. If you wake up every day and immediately choose comfort, your brain learns that comfort is the highest priority. If you wake up and immediately choose responsibility, your brain learns that growth matters more than temporary ease. Morning habits are powerful because the mind is highly impressionable during the first hour after waking. Thoughts, emotions, and behaviors during this period often influence energy and focus for the rest of the day. A rushed, chaotic morning usually creates a rushed, chaotic mind. A calm, intentional morning creates greater emotional control. There is something important many people fail to understand. Discipline is easier when decisions are reduced. A person who plans their morning carefully removes unnecessary mental negotiation. They already know when to wake up. They already know what actions to take. This structure protects the mind from laziness and indecision. Without structure, the brain naturally searches for the easiest option available. That is why many people waste the first hour of the day without resistance. The body stays in bed longer than necessary. The mind drifts aimlessly. The phone steals attention. Suddenly, the morning disappears and the person already feels behind in life before noon arrives. Winning the morning creates internal confidence, not because life becomes perfect, but because the person begins the day with evidence of self-control. A disciplined morning says something powerful to the mind. It says you are capable of leading yourself instead of being controlled by impulses. This inner message matters deeply. Many people secretly struggle with disappointment in themselves because they constantly abandon their own intentions. They promise to wake up early, then ignore the alarm. They promise to exercise, then postpone it repeatedly. They promise to stop wasting time, then continue the same destructive patterns. Over time, self-trust weakens. A strong morning routine repairs that broken trust slowly. Every completed habit becomes proof that your words still carry weight. Every intentional action strengthens personal integrity. Confidence grows when behavior aligns with values. The body also responds positively to disciplined mornings. A person who wakes up consistently trains the nervous system toward stability. Sleep quality improves. Energy becomes more predictable. Mental fog decreases. The body begins functioning with greater rhythm because it no longer experiences constant inconsistency. One of the most damaging morning habits is immediately consuming negativity. Some people begin every day with stressful news, toxic arguments, online gossip, or comparison. Before their mind fully wakes up, they are already feeding it fear, anger, insecurity, and noise. This weakens emotional resilience. Protect the mind carefully during the early morning hours. The first thoughts of the day matter because they influence emotional direction. A person who starts the morning with gratitude, clarity, and intention often handles stress better later in the day. Silence in the morning has enormous value. Even 10 minutes of stillness can strengthen awareness. Sitting quietly allows thoughts to settle. It creates space to think clearly before external pressure begins. Many people are mentally exhausted because they never allow their mind to breathe. Their attention is constantly occupied. Stillness sharpens the mind. During quiet moments, important realizations often appear. You begin noticing unhealthy habits more clearly. You recognize emotional patterns that need correction. You remember goals that distractions made you forget. Reflection creates awareness, and awareness creates change. Movement is another critical part of a disciplined morning. The body was designed to move, not remain inactive for hours after waking. Physical movement increases alertness, circulation, focus, and emotional energy. This does not require an extreme workout. Even walking, stretching, push-ups, or light exercise can shift mental state powerfully. Action creates energy. Many people wait to feel motivated before moving their body. Discipline works differently. Disciplined individuals move first, then allow energy to follow. The morning also provides an opportunity to strengthen mental focus before distractions appear. Reading a few pages from a meaningful book, journaling, studying, or planning the day trains the brain toward intentional thinking. These habits may appear simple, but repeated consistently, they reshape mindset gradually. What you repeatedly consume shapes your thinking. A person who feeds the mind wisdom every morning develops stronger judgment over time. A person who feeds the mind chaos, confusion, and negativity develops emotional instability. The brain absorbs patterns constantly, whether you notice it or not. Food choices in the morning matter as well. Many people consume excessive sugar-heavy processed meals or unhealthy drinks early in the day, then wonder why energy crashes quickly. A disciplined person understands that physical fuel influences emotional and mental performance. Treat the body with respect. You cannot expect clarity from a neglected body. You cannot expect strength from constant self-destruction. Energy, discipline, and focus are connected deeply to physical care. Another important morning habit is avoiding immediate urgency. Some people wake up and instantly rush into panic. They hurry through everything without awareness. This creates tension before the day even begins. A rushed mind makes poor decisions. Calm preparation creates strength. Waking slightly earlier than necessary can completely change emotional stability. It removes the pressure of constant rushing. It allows time to think, breathe, prepare, and move intentionally. There is wisdom in slow, controlled beginnings. A person who masters the morning often becomes more disciplined in other areas naturally. Why? Because identity begins changing. They stop seeing themselves as careless, reactive, and inconsistent. They begin viewing themselves as someone capable of structure and self-leadership. Identity influences behavior powerfully. When a person genuinely believes they are disciplined, they start protecting habits more carefully. They make decisions aligned with that identity. The opposite is also true. A person who constantly calls themselves lazy, weak, or unmotivated often behaves according to those labels. Morning discipline rewrites self-perception gradually. One healthy morning repeated daily can influence relationships, work health, emotional stability, confidence, and long-term success. Small habits accumulate quietly. The effects may not feel dramatic immediately, but transformation often happens at the surface first. The greatest mistake many people make is expecting instant results from disciplined habits. Real change usually arrives slowly. The first few mornings may feel uncomfortable. The body resists waking earlier. The mind searches for excuses. Motivation fades quickly. This is normal. Discipline grows through repetition, not emotion. A person becomes stronger each time they follow through, despite resistance. Every morning you overcome excuses, you strengthen mental endurance. You teach yourself that feelings do not control behavior completely. Some mornings will feel heavy emotionally. Stress, anxiety, sadness, or exhaustion may appear. During these moments, discipline becomes especially valuable because structure prevents emotional collapse. Strong habits create stability during unstable periods. Without routines, difficult emotions often lead people toward destructive coping behaviors. Oversleeping, endless scrolling, procrastination, unhealthy eating, and avoidance become temporary escapes. A disciplined morning interrupts these patterns before they gain control. One quiet hour in the morning can become a form of self-respect. It is a decision to prioritize growth before distractions. A decision to strengthen the mind before pressure arrives. A decision to invest in the future version of yourself. Many successful people protect their mornings carefully, not because they are naturally superior, but because they understand the value of mental clarity. The world becomes demanding very quickly. If you do not direct your attention intentionally early in the day, external noise will control it for you. Morning habits also reveal priorities honestly. A person may say health matters but repeatedly ignore exercise. They may say growth matters while spending mornings consuming meaningless content. Words reveal intentions, but habits reveal truth. Look honestly at how your mornings are spent. The answer often explains the current condition of your life. If mornings begin with confusion, distraction, laziness, and reaction, the rest of life often reflects those same qualities. If mornings begin with intention, effort, calmness, and discipline, those qualities gradually spread into other areas. A disciplined life is not created through one massive decision. It is built through repeated ordinary actions performed consistently, even when nobody is watching. The early morning hours contain enormous power because fewer distractions exist. The world is quieter, the mind is more open. This is the perfect time to strengthen yourself internally before facing external demands. Do not underestimate the emotional impact of starting the day with self-respect. Finishing a workout, reading something meaningful, planning clearly, sitting in silence, drinking water instead of poison for the mind. These actions communicate something important internally. They say your future matters. That message changes behavior over time. You do not need an extreme routine to transform your mornings. Simplicity often works best. Wake up consistently, avoid immediate distractions, move the body, spend time thinking clearly. Feed the mind useful information. Prepare intentionally for the day ahead. Small disciplined actions repeated long enough create powerful internal change. The person who controls the morning gains an advantage over the person who begins every day emotionally reactive and mentally scattered. One enters the day prepared. The other enters the day unprepared. Life becomes easier to handle when the mind becomes stronger. The morning is where that strength is often built quietly. Tomorrow morning is another opportunity. Another chance to stop beginning the day carelessly. Another chance to prove to yourself that growth matters more than comfort. Another chance to create momentum instead of regret. Wake up with intention. Protect your attention early. Build habits that strengthen your mind instead of weakening it. The future is shaped by repeated mornings more than most people realize. Chapter 4. Train your mind to stay consistent during difficult days. Most people can stay motivated when life feels easy. They can work hard when energy is high. They can stay positive when everything is going well. The real test of character begins when pressure arrives unexpectedly. Difficult days reveal the strength of the mind more honestly than comfortable days ever will. Anyone can feel confident when results are visible. Anyone can stay disciplined when emotions feel stable. But life does not move in a straight line. There are mornings when exhaustion feels heavy. There are moments when disappointment drains motivation. There are seasons when progress slows down and nothing seems to improve despite effort. During those periods, many people lose direction because their habits were built on emotion instead of inner stability. A strong mind is not built during easy moments. It is built during resistance. Difficult days are unavoidable. Stress arrives. Plans fail, people disappoint you, financial pressure appears, health problems emerge, emotional pain enters life without permission. Some days the body feels weak and the mind feels crowded with doubt. These experiences are part of being human. The goal is not to avoid difficulty completely. The goal is to remain steady while moving through it. Consistency becomes powerful when circumstances stop being comfortable. Many people destroy progress because they believe one difficult day gives them permission to abandon discipline entirely. They skip healthy habits because they feel emotionally low. They stop working toward goals because motivation disappears temporarily. They allow one bad moment to turn into one bad week, then one bad month. This pattern quietly damages confidence. Every time a person quits during discomfort, they teach the mind something dangerous. They teach it that emotions are stronger than commitments. Over time, the brain begins expecting escape whenever life becomes difficult. Mental endurance works differently. A disciplined person understands that difficult emotions do not need to control behavior completely. Sadness may exist while action continues. Fear may exist while progress continues. Exhaustion may exist while responsibility continues. Emotional discomfort and productive behavior can exist together. This understanding changes everything. Many people wait to feel emotionally ready before taking action. But difficult seasons rarely provide perfect emotional conditions. Waiting endlessly for motivation often creates stagnation. Consistency requires learning how to move forward even when the mind feels resistant. There is strength in continuing quietly, not dramatic strength that seeks attention. Quiet strength that keeps showing up despite frustration, uncertainty, and fatigue. Quiet strength that completes responsibilities without needing constant praise. Quiet strength that refuses to collapse every time life becomes uncomfortable. One difficult day handled correctly can strengthen character deeply. Every challenge contains an opportunity to train emotional resilience. A stressful situation can teach patience. A painful experience can teach perspective. A setback can teach adaptability. Hardship often reveals weaknesses that comfort hides. Most people try to escape difficult emotions immediately. They distract themselves constantly. They numb themselves with entertainment, unhealthy habits, avoidance, or denial. But avoiding pain delays growth. Emotions ignored repeatedly often return stronger later. A mature mind learns how to face discomfort directly without panic. This does not mean pretending emotions do not exist. It means refusing to become controlled by them completely. Emotional awareness matters. Suppressing feelings carelessly often creates deeper problems. But emotional awareness is different from emotional surrender. You can acknowledge pain without allowing it to destroy discipline. A person may feel discouraged and still complete important work. A person may feel anxious and still exercise. A person may feel emotionally overwhelmed and still choose healthy decisions instead of destructive coping habits. This is self-mastery. During difficult days, the mind often becomes dramatic. Small problems begin feeling permanent. Temporary emotions begin feeling like identity. Failure in one area suddenly convinces a person that their entire future is hopeless. The brain becomes unreliable during emotional exhaustion. That is why consistency matters so much during hard periods. Habits create stability when emotions become unstable. A structured routine protects the mind from complete collapse because it provides direction when clarity feels weak. Simple actions become powerful during difficult seasons. Making the bed, drinking water, going for a walk, reading a few pages, writing thoughts honestly, cleaning a room, completing one small task. These actions may appear insignificant, but they interrupt helplessness. They remind the brain that movement is still possible. Small victories matter greatly during hard moments. Many people make life harder by demanding perfection from themselves during emotionally painful periods. They become frustrated because they cannot perform at their highest level every single day. This unrealistic expectation creates unnecessary guilt. Human beings are not machines. Some days energy will naturally decrease. Some days concentration will feel weaker. Some seasons require slower movement. Discipline is not about forcing perfection. It is about refusing to abandon yourself completely during difficult periods. Consistency sometimes means reducing intensity without stopping entirely. If a person normally exercises 1 hour daily but feels emotionally drained, they can still move their body for 15 minutes. If concentration feels difficult, they can still read 1 page instead of none. Progress maintained imperfectly is still progress. A difficult day does not erase previous effort. One mistake does not destroy identity. One setback does not define the future. Many people become trapped because they turn temporary failures into permanent self-judgment. A disciplined person recovers faster because they refuse to waste energy on endless self-punishment. Self-hatred weakens growth. Honest accountability strengthens it. There is a major difference between learning from mistakes and emotionally attacking yourself endlessly. A strong mind takes responsibility calmly. It studies what went wrong carefully, then continues forward with greater awareness. Resilience grows through recovery. Life will not always reward effort immediately. This truth frustrates many people because they expect visible results quickly. Sometimes disciplined action produces slow progress. Sometimes hard work feels unnoticed. Sometimes personal growth happens internally before external results appear. Patience becomes essential during these periods. A person who quits because results arrive slowly never experiences the long-term rewards consistency creates. Many breakthroughs happen after long periods of invisible progress. The problem is that most people stop too early because discouragement convinces them nothing is changing. Difficult days test belief. Not belief in fantasy or blind optimism, but belief in the value of continued effort. A resilient person understands that temporary discomfort does not mean the process has failed. Storms do not last forever. Emotional pain changes, circumstances shift, situations improve. Decisions made during difficult moments often create lasting consequences. A person who destroys healthy habits during stress usually creates additional suffering later. A person who protects discipline during hard seasons often emerges mentally stronger afterward. Another important skill during difficult periods is controlling mental input carefully. When the mind already feels heavy, negative information becomes even more damaging. Endless exposure to fear, anger, toxic conversations, and hopeless thinking increases emotional exhaustion. During painful seasons, protect the mind intentionally. Choose words, environments, and influences carefully. Spend time around people who encourage responsibility, strength, honesty, and growth. Avoid individuals who constantly spread negativity, panic, and emotional chaos. Emotional states are contagious. The people surrounding you influence your thinking more than you realize. There is also wisdom in accepting what cannot be controlled. Many people waste enormous emotional energy fighting reality internally. They replay situations endlessly, wishing the past had unfolded differently. They become consumed by outcomes beyond their control. This creates mental suffering without improving anything. A disciplined mind focuses energy where action remains possible. You cannot always control circumstances. You cannot control other people completely. You cannot control unexpected events. But you can influence your response habits, words, choices, and attitude. That is where personal power exists. Acceptance does not mean weakness. It means recognizing reality clearly instead of emotionally resisting facts endlessly. Clear thinking becomes easier when emotional denial disappears. Difficult days also reveal hidden priorities. Pressure exposes what truly matters. During painful seasons, many superficial concerns lose importance. People begin recognizing the value of health, peace, meaningful relationships, honesty, and inner stability. Hardship often strips away illusion. A person chasing endless approval may realize external validation never created lasting fulfillment. Someone obsessed with comfort may discover comfort alone cannot create strength. Difficult experiences often deepen wisdom because they force honest reflection. This reflection should not create bitterness. Pain can either harden the heart negatively or strengthen character positively. The difference often depends on mindset. Some people become resentful after hardship. Others become wiser, calmer, and more compassionate. Your response to suffering shapes your future more than suffering itself. Training the mind during difficult days requires intentional self-talk as well. Many people speak to themselves with constant cruelty internally. During mistakes, they insult themselves repeatedly. During failure, they predict disaster immediately. This inner dialogue weakens emotional resilience. A disciplined person learns to think realistically instead of destructively. Instead of saying everything is ruined, they focus on the next useful action. Instead of labeling themselves worthless, they recognize temporary struggle without destroying identity. Calm, honest thinking protects mental stability. Another powerful practice during difficult periods is remembering previous victories. The mind often forgets past resilience when current emotions feel overwhelming. Reflect on situations you survived before. Remember obstacles already overcome. This builds perspective. You have endured difficult moments already. That matters. The human mind adapts remarkably when trained consistently. Emotional resilience grows like physical strength. Each challenge handled with awareness, patience, and discipline increases future stability. Strength is built gradually. There is no perfect person who never struggles emotionally. Even disciplined individuals experience fear, sadness, frustration, and exhaustion. The difference is not absence of difficulty. The difference is response. One person collapses completely whenever discomfort appears. Another person bends without breaking. That flexibility creates endurance. Consistency during difficult days is not about appearing emotionally invincible. It is about continuing to care for your future even when current emotions feel heavy. Keep basic habits alive. Protect your health. Move your body. Feed your mind carefully. Rest when necessary without surrendering completely. Speak honestly about pain without building identity around suffering. Most importantly, continue moving forward even if progress feels slower temporarily. One difficult season handled wisely can create maturity that comfort never could. You begin understanding your own mind more clearly. You recognize emotional patterns faster. You develop patience with discomfort. You become less controlled by temporary feelings. This is one of the greatest forms of strength a person can build. Life respects consistency more than intensity. Small disciplined actions repeated during difficult periods create inner stability that cannot be easily shaken by external chaos. The person who learns to stay steady during hard days gains an advantage many people never develop. When pressure arrives, they do not panic immediately. When setbacks happen, they do not abandon themselves. When emotions become painful, they still protect important responsibilities. That quiet resilience changes the direction of an entire life. Chapter 5. Replace negative thoughts with purpose-driven daily actions. The human mind speaks constantly. From the moment a person wakes up until the moment sleep arrives, thoughts move endlessly through the brain. Some thoughts encourage growth. Some create fear. Some build confidence while others quietly destroy hope. Most people never realize how much their inner dialogue shapes the direction of their life. A negative mind can make even small problems feel unbearable. It can turn temporary failure into permanent hopelessness. It can convince a capable person to stop trying before success ever becomes possible. Many people are not physically trapped in life. They are mentally trapped by repeated patterns of destructive thinking. Thoughts influence behavior more than most people understand. A person who constantly tells themselves they are weak eventually stops taking action. A person who repeatedly focuses on fear begins avoiding opportunity. Someone who expects failure often loses motivation before the work even begins. The mind follows repeated mental patterns carefully, whether those patterns are helpful or harmful. Negative thinking is dangerous because it feels believable after repetition. A thought repeated daily begins feeling like truth, even when it is incomplete or inaccurate. A person who spends years criticizing themselves internally eventually accepts that voice as reality. They stop questioning it. They stop challenging it. They allow it to shape decisions, relationships, confidence, and ambition. Many negative thoughts are learned gradually. Some come from painful childhood experiences. Some grow from repeated failure, rejection, embarrassment, or criticism. Others develop through constant comparison with people online or through environments filled with negativity. Over time, these thoughts become automatic responses. A mistake happens and the mind says you always fail. A difficult moment appears and the mind says nothing will improve. A goal feels challenging and the mind says you are not capable. These thoughts may arrive quickly, but they should not be accepted blindly. The mind can become either a powerful ally or a destructive enemy, depending on what it is trained to repeat consistently. One important truth must be understood clearly. Positive thinking alone is not enough to transform a life. Repeating empty motivational phrases without meaningful action changes very little. Lasting confidence is built through purposeful behavior repeated daily. Action changes identity more deeply than words alone. This is why purpose-driven daily actions matter so much. A person cannot think their way into a better life while continuing the same destructive habits repeatedly. Thought patterns begin changing when behavior changes consistently. A person who exercises regularly starts feeling stronger mentally because action provides evidence of growth. A person who studies daily develops confidence through learning. A person who handles responsibilities consistently begins trusting themselves more. Purposeful actions slowly weaken negative thoughts because reality starts contradicting old beliefs. Many people try to fight negative thinking while remaining inactive. This creates frustration because an idle mind often becomes a breeding ground for anxiety, fear, and overthinking. When the mind lacks direction, it drifts toward worry easily. Purpose creates mental structure. A person working toward meaningful goals has less energy available for endless self-destruction internally. Their attention becomes connected to improvement instead of constant emotional spiraling. This does not mean difficult thoughts disappear completely. Every human being experiences doubt, insecurity, frustration, and fear at times. The goal is not perfection. The goal is learning how to respond differently when negative thoughts appear. You do not have to obey every thought that enters your mind. Many people treat thoughts as commands instead of temporary mental events. A fearful thought appears and they immediately believe it completely. An insecure thought appears and they allow it to define identity. But thoughts are not always accurate reflections of reality. The mind becomes distorted during stress, exhaustion, sadness, and fear. This is why emotional awareness matters deeply. Learn to observe thoughts without immediately surrendering to them. Notice patterns carefully. Ask honest questions. Is this thought useful? Is it completely true? Is it helping growth or creating paralysis? A disciplined mind examines thoughts instead of becoming controlled by them automatically. One of the most effective ways to interrupt negative thinking is through immediate constructive action. When the mind begins moving toward hopelessness, stand up and do something purposeful. Clean a room, exercise, read, write, study, practice a skill, go outside, organize your environment. Complete a responsibility you have been avoiding. Movement changes mental state. Purposeful action redirects emotional energy into something productive. It reminds the brain that progress is still possible. Small accomplishments create psychological momentum. Momentum weakens helplessness. Many people underestimate the emotional power of completing simple tasks. A made bed can create order during mental chaos. A completed workout can restore confidence after emotional heaviness. Finishing important work can reduce anxiety that avoidance created. Action grounds the mind in reality. Negative thinking often grows strongest during long periods of inactivity because the brain begins creating imagined fears endlessly. The person stays trapped in their head instead of engaging with life directly. Purpose pulls attention outward toward growth. Another important habit is becoming careful about mental consumption. The brain absorbs information continuously. If a person spends hours consuming negativity, gossip, anger, fear and hopeless content, their internal world slowly becomes darker. Thoughts are influenced by repeated exposure. Protect the mind intentionally. Read things that strengthen wisdom. Listen to conversations that encourage growth. Spend time with people who speak responsibly and think clearly. The environment surrounding you influences internal dialogue constantly. There are individuals who spend years around people who criticize everything, complain constantly, and avoid accountability. Eventually, this negativity becomes normalized. The person begins adopting the same mental habits unconsciously. Energy spreads through environments. Choose carefully what you allow into your mind daily. Purpose-driven action also creates meaning during difficult periods. One major reason people become mentally overwhelmed is because they lose connection to purpose. Days begin feeling empty, repetitive, and directionless. Without meaningful goals, the mind becomes vulnerable to emotional chaos. Human beings need direction. A person with no purpose often becomes consumed by temporary distractions, emotional reactions, and endless comparison. But a person working towards something meaningful develops greater emotional resilience because effort feels connected to a larger reason. Purpose does not need to be grand or dramatic. It may begin simply: improving health, supporting family, learning a skill, becoming emotionally stronger, creating financial stability, helping others, developing discipline, living honestly. These goals give energy direction. A person with purpose suffers differently than a person without it. Pain still exists, but hopelessness decreases because the struggle becomes connected to growth. Another destructive habit that strengthens negative thinking is constantly replaying the past. Some people mentally relive old mistakes every day. They replay embarrassing moments, failed relationships, painful decisions, and missed opportunities repeatedly until guilt becomes part of identity. This creates emotional exhaustion. The past should teach lessons, not become a permanent prison. Every human being has made mistakes. Every person has experienced failure, disappointment, and regret. Growth begins when lessons are extracted without allowing the past to destroy the future completely. Purpose-driven action shifts attention toward what can still be built. You cannot rewrite previous years, but you can influence what happens next. The present moment still contains choices, opportunities, and possibilities for change. A strong mind focuses more on response than regret. There is also danger in comparing your life constantly to others. Comparison feeds negative thinking because it creates distorted perspectives. Social media often shows carefully selected moments instead of full reality. Many people compare their ordinary struggles to someone else's highlight moments and feel inadequate afterward. This weakens gratitude and destroys focus. A disciplined person spends more energy improving themselves than measuring themselves against everyone else constantly. Personal growth requires concentration, not endless comparison. The goal is not becoming identical to someone else. The goal is becoming stronger, wiser, healthier, and more disciplined than your previous self. Daily actions should reflect that intention. Wake up with direction. Set clear priorities. Complete meaningful tasks even when emotions feel unstable. Speak honestly. Care for your health. Develop useful skills. Strengthen relationships that matter. Protect your attention from destructive influences. These actions slowly reshape internal dialogue because the mind begins seeing evidence of growth repeatedly. Confidence is built through proof. Every disciplined action becomes proof that change is happening. Every responsibility completed strengthens self-respect. Every healthy choice weakens the belief that you are powerless. Negative thinking also decreases when gratitude becomes intentional. Many people train their mind to notice only what is missing, broken, or difficult. They overlook simple blessings because the brain becomes conditioned toward dissatisfaction. Gratitude shifts attention toward value instead of constant lack. This does not mean ignoring problems or pretending life is perfect. It means recognizing that even difficult lives still contain things worth appreciating: health, breath, learning, opportunity, friendship, growth, wisdom gained through struggle. A grateful mind thinks differently than a bitter one. Another important truth is that healing negative thought patterns takes time. Many people become discouraged because change feels slow. Years of destructive thinking cannot always disappear quickly. Mental habits strengthen through repetition, and they weaken through repetition as well. Patience matters deeply during this process. Do not expect one good day to erase years of self-criticism. Continue training the mind consistently. Continue choosing purposeful action even when progress feels gradual. One day you begin noticing subtle changes. You recover from setbacks faster. Fear controls decisions less often. Self-respect increases quietly. Difficult thoughts lose some of their power. Hope feels more natural. Discipline becomes more stable. Transformation usually happens slowly before it becomes obvious. A powerful life is not built by people who never experience negative thoughts. It is built by people who refuse to let those thoughts control their behavior permanently. The mind becomes stronger when trained repeatedly toward responsibility, growth, honesty, and purposeful action. Every day offers another opportunity to direct attention differently. Another opportunity to stop feeding destructive thoughts through inactivity and avoidance. Another opportunity to strengthen identity through meaningful action. Stand up even when doubt appears. Continue working even when fear speaks loudly. Protect your future from the version of your mind that wants surrender more than growth. Your thoughts influence your direction, but your actions shape your destiny more powerfully. Train both carefully. Chapter 6. Strengthen emotional control through intentional daily self-reflection. Many people spend years trying to control their life while never learning how to control their emotions. They focus on money goals, productivity, appearance, and success, yet remain completely vulnerable to anger, fear, insecurity, frustration, jealousy, and stress. The outside of their life may appear organized while the inside remains chaotic. This inner instability eventually affects every decision, relationship, habit, and goal. A person who cannot manage emotions consistently will struggle to manage life consistently. Emotions are powerful. They influence words, choices, reactions, and behavior daily. One moment of uncontrolled anger can damage years of trust. One emotional impulse can destroy discipline built over months. One period of emotional exhaustion can lead to destructive habits that create long-term consequences. This is why emotional control matters deeply. Emotional control does not mean becoming cold, emotionless, or disconnected from humanity. It means learning how to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting automatically. It means developing enough awareness to pause before emotions begin controlling behavior completely. Many people react instantly without reflection. Something stressful happens and they explode emotionally. Someone criticizes them and they become defensive immediately. Fear appears and they abandon important goals. Sadness arrives and they isolate themselves completely. Their emotional state changes their actions constantly because there is no space between feeling and reaction. Self-reflection creates that space. A person who regularly reflects on thoughts, emotions, and behaviors begins understanding themselves more clearly. They recognize emotional patterns earlier. They notice triggers before reactions become destructive. Awareness gives the opportunity to choose a wiser response. Without reflection, most behavior becomes automatic. People will repeat the same emotional mistakes for years because they never stop long enough to examine themselves honestly. They blame circumstances endlessly while ignoring their own emotional habits. They continue reacting impulsively because they never study their internal world carefully. Self-reflection requires courage because honesty can feel uncomfortable. Silence reveals things distraction hides. During quiet reflection, a person may realize how often insecurity controls decisions. They may notice how quickly anger appears during criticism. They may recognize emotional dependence on approval from others. These realizations are painful at first, but they are necessary because growth begins with awareness. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine honestly. Many people avoid self-reflection because they fear facing difficult truths about themselves. Instead, they stay constantly busy, distracted, or entertained. Noise becomes a form of escape, but ignored emotions do not disappear. They continue influencing behavior beneath the surface. Unprocessed emotions often appear through unhealthy reactions later. A person carrying unresolved anger may become impatient with loved ones. Someone filled with insecurity may become controlling, jealous, or defensive. Emotional wounds ignored repeatedly often shape personality without conscious awareness. Reflection brings hidden patterns into the light. One of the most powerful daily habits is spending intentional time reviewing your thoughts, actions, and emotional responses calmly. This does not require hours. Even 15 quiet minutes can strengthen emotional awareness significantly when practiced consistently. Ask yourself honest questions regularly. What triggered frustration today? Why did certs affect me deeply? Did I react emotionally or respond wisely? What fear influenced my decisions? What situations weakened my patience? Where did I avoid responsibility? These questions develop self-understanding. Most people know very little about their own emotional patterns because they never study themselves carefully. They know the habits of celebrities, strangers, co-workers, and people online more than they know the habits of their own mind. Self-knowledge creates emotional stability. A person who understands their triggers becomes less controlled by them. Someone aware of their emotional weaknesses can prepare for them more intelligently. Awareness transforms emotional reactions from unconscious behavior into manageable experiences. There is great strength in pausing before responding emotionally. Many painful situations become worse because people react too quickly. They speak while angry, make decisions while afraid, send messages while emotionally overwhelmed. Later regret appears because temporary emotions created permanent consequences. A calm pause protects wisdom. When emotions become intense, slow down intentionally. Breathe deeply. Remain silent briefly if necessary. Give the mind time to settle before acting. Emotional storms often lose power when immediate reaction is delayed. This simple habit prevents enormous damage. Another important part of self-reflection is taking responsibility for emotional behavior honestly. Many people justify every reaction automatically. They blame stress for anger. They blame others for disrespectful behavior. They blame circumstances for emotional instability. Maturity begins when excuses stop controlling self-awareness. A disciplined person admits mistakes honestly, without destroying themselves emotionally. They recognize unhealthy reactions clearly. They apologize when necessary. They learn from situations instead of protecting pride endlessly. Pride often blocks emotional growth. Some people would rather defend destructive behavior than admit emotional weakness. This keeps them trapped in repeated conflict. Humility creates improvement because humility allows learning. Emotional control also requires understanding that feelings are temporary. Many people treat emotions as permanent truth. A difficult moment arrives and they assume life will always feel this painful. Anger appears and they speak recklessly, as if the emotion will never fade. Fear arrives and they avoid opportunities completely. Emotions change constantly. This is why decisions should not always be made during emotional intensity. Time creates perspective. Reflection creates clarity. Patience allows emotions to settle enough for wiser thinking. A strong mind observes emotions without immediately surrendering to them. Another important lesson learned through self-reflection is that external situations do not fully control emotional responses. Two people can experience the same challenge yet react completely differently. One becomes consumed by anger, bitterness, and panic. The other remains calm, thoughtful, and adaptable. The difference often lies in emotional training. Some individuals spend years strengthening patience, awareness, and self-control, while others continue reacting impulsively to every discomfort. Emotional habits develop through repetition, just like physical habits. Daily reflection trains emotional discipline gradually. Writing thoughts down can be especially helpful. Journaling allows emotions to become clearer because thoughts move from the mind onto paper. Many people feel mentally overwhelmed because emotions remain trapped internally without structure. Writing creates mental organization. A person may discover fears they were avoiding unconsciously. They may recognize recurring patterns, damaging relationships or motivation. Honest writing reveals emotional truth with surprising clarity. Reflection also helps separate facts from emotional exaggeration. The mind often becomes dramatic during stress. Small problems begin feeling catastrophic. Temporary setbacks feel permanent. Criticism feels unbearable. Reflection slows this process down. It allows logic to return gradually. Ask yourself whether emotions are distorting reality. Is this situation truly hopeless, or does it only feel overwhelming right now? Am I reacting to facts or reacting to fear? What would a calmer, wiser version of myself do here? Questions like these create emotional distance from impulsive thinking. Another powerful benefit of reflection is recognizing progress. Many people focus only on flaws and failures, while ignoring emotional growth already happening. A person may now recover from anger faster than before. They may communicate more calmly during stress. They may handle disappointment with greater maturity. Notice these improvements. Growth becomes easier to maintain when progress is acknowledged honestly. Self-reflection should not become endless self-criticism. The purpose is awareness and growth, not emotional punishment. Some people analyze themselves so harshly that reflection becomes another source of anxiety. Balance honesty with patience. You are a human being learning emotional discipline gradually, not a machine expected to perform perfectly every day. Emotional mastery develops over time through consistent practice, repeated mistakes, and intentional correction. Another important truth is that physical health strongly influences emotional stability. Lack of sleep, unhealthy food, constant stress, and physical inactivity weaken emotional control significantly. An exhausted mind reacts differently than a rested mind. Care for the body seriously. A calm nervous system supports wise emotional responses. Many emotional reactions become more intense when the body is neglected continuously. Environment also affects emotions deeply. Constant exposure to conflict, negativity, gossip, and toxic people increases emotional tension. Some individuals remain emotionally unstable, partly because their surroundings continuously feed stress and chaos into their mind. Protect your emotional environment carefully. Spend more time around people who communicate calmly, think responsibly, and encourage growth. Distance yourself from constant drama, manipulation, and emotional instability whenever possible. Peaceful environments strengthen peaceful thinking. One major sign of emotional maturity is learning not to take everything personally. Many people suffer unnecessarily because they interpret every criticism, disagreement, or rejection as a personal attack on their worth. Not every negative experience defines your value. Sometimes people speak from their own pain, frustration, insecurity, or immaturity. Reflection helps recognize this. A calm person does not absorb every emotional reaction from others automatically. This creates emotional freedom. The ability to remain composed during stressful situations becomes one of the greatest strengths a person can build. Calm thinking leads to better decisions, healthier relationships, and greater resilience during hardship. Emotional control is not weakness. It is strength guided by awareness instead of impulse. There will still be moments of anger, sadness, disappointment, and frustration. Emotional control does not erase human emotion. It changes how those emotions are handled. Instead of becoming controlled by every feeling, you begin leading yourself with greater wisdom. Over time, self-reflection creates inner clarity. You understand yourself more deeply. You recognize emotional patterns earlier. You become slower to anger, quicker to think, and more careful with your words and decisions. This transformation changes every area of life. Relationships improve because communication becomes calmer. Discipline improves because emotions stop controlling behavior completely. Stress becomes easier to manage because panic decreases. Confidence grows because self-awareness creates stability. A reflective person develops inner strength quietly. They no longer run from silence because silence becomes a teacher instead of a threat. They stop blaming everyone else for emotional pain and begin strengthening responsibility for their reactions. They stop reacting blindly and start living intentionally. Few skills are more valuable than learning how to remain calm, clear, and thoughtful when life becomes emotionally difficult. Daily self-reflection builds that skill slowly. One honest conversation with yourself each day can prevent years of repeated emotional mistakes. One moment of awareness can stop a destructive reaction. One calm pause can protect relationships, opportunities, and peace of mind. Your emotions are powerful, but they do not need to control your entire life. Train your mind patiently. Observe yourself honestly. Learn from emotional experiences instead of becoming trapped inside them. Strengthen awareness daily until wisdom becomes stronger than impulse. That quiet emotional discipline becomes a form of freedom many people never experience. Chapter 7. Create clear goals that push you beyond excuses daily. Many people move through life without clear direction. They wake up, work, survive distractions, handle responsibilities, and repeat the same routine again the next day. Weeks pass quickly. Years disappear quietly. Yet deep inside they feel frustrated because they know they are capable of more. The problem is not always lack of intelligence, talent, or opportunity. Often the real problem is the absence of clear goals strong enough to challenge excuses. A person without clear goals becomes vulnerable to comfort. When direction is unclear, distractions become powerful. Laziness becomes easier. Procrastination feels harmless. Small daily habits slowly pull life away from growth because there is no strong reason pushing the person forward consistently. Goals create direction for energy. Without direction, effort becomes scattered. The mind drifts from one thing to another without focus. A person may stay busy all day while accomplishing very little that truly improves their future. Clear goals organize attention. They create structure for decisions, habits, and priorities. A meaningful goal changes behavior. A person who deeply wants to improve health begins viewing food differently. Someone determined to build financial stability starts thinking differently about time and spending. A person committed to emotional growth becomes more aware of reactions and habits. Goals influence identity because they shape daily choices. But goals must be specific enough to create action. Many people say they want success, happiness, discipline, or improvement. These words sound powerful but remain too vague. The brain struggles to commit fully to unclear intentions. A person needs clear targets. What exactly are you trying to build? What habits must change? What skills need development? What kind of person are you becoming? Clarity strengthens commitment. A goal should create enough emotional meaning that excuses begin losing power. Weak goals disappear when discomfort appears. Strong goals survive difficult days because they connect to something deeper than temporary emotion. This is why purpose matters. Some people create goals based only on external pressure. They chase approval, status, or comparison instead of genuine personal meaning. These goals often fail because the motivation behind them is fragile. Real discipline grows stronger when goals connect to values, identity, and long-term fulfillment. Ask yourself honest questions. What kind of life would make you proud years from now? What habits are damaging your future? What skills would improve your confidence, independence, and stability? What emotional weaknesses need strengthening? What responsibilities have you been avoiding? Honest answers create meaningful goals. One major reason people fail to pursue goals consistently is because excuses become emotionally comfortable. The mind always searches for easier paths. It creates reasons to delay action. Too tired, too busy, too stressed, not ready yet. Maybe tomorrow. These excuses feel convincing in the moment because they protect short-term comfort. Excuses reduce temporary discomfort but increase long-term regret. Every excuse repeated consistently trains the brain toward weakness. A person who constantly delays difficult action slowly loses respect for their own potential. Deep inside, they know they are avoiding growth. This creates frustration that often appears as anxiety, insecurity, or disappointment. Clear goals interrupt this pattern because they create accountability. When a person knows exactly what they are working toward, daily decisions become easier. Distractions lose some of their power because priorities become visible. A strong goal reminds you why discipline matters during moments of temptation. Goals also create urgency. Without urgency, people waste enormous amounts of time, assuming there will always be another opportunity later. They postpone growth repeatedly while life moves forward without waiting. One day they realize years disappeared while excuses remained unchanged. Time is not unlimited. Every season wasted through avoidance becomes impossible to fully recover. This truth should not create panic, but it should create awareness. Life becomes more meaningful when time is respected. A disciplined person treats each day as important because they understand small actions accumulate into larger outcomes. Daily choices shape identity slowly. Goals help direct those choices intentionally. Another important truth is that goals should challenge you enough to create growth, but not overwhelm you completely. Some people fail because they create unrealistic expectations immediately. They attempt massive life changes overnight, then collapse emotionally when perfection becomes impossible. Sustainable progress requires balance. A person trying to improve health does not need to become perfect instantly. They need consistent, disciplined actions repeated long enough to create change. Someone building financial stability does not become wealthy overnight. They develop habits, skills, patience, and wiser decision-making gradually. Real transformation often looks ordinary in the beginning. The person studying quietly each evening may appear unnoticed. The individual exercising daily may not see immediate physical changes. The person saving money consistently may still feel far from success. Yet these repeated actions are building a different future quietly beneath the surface. Goals become powerful when connected to systems. Many people focus only on results while ignoring the habits required to achieve them. A goal without daily structure remains wishful thinking. Wanting change means little without behaviors supporting that desire consistently. A person who wants stronger discipline must build routines that encourage discipline. Someone wanting emotional stability must practice emotional awareness regularly. A person wanting knowledge must create time for learning daily. Results grow from repeated behavior. This is why daily accountability matters. At the end of each day, ask yourself difficult questions honestly. Did my actions move me closer to my goals today? Did I waste energy on distractions that weakened progress? Did fear influence my decisions? Did I protect my priorities or surrender them easily? These questions strengthen self-awareness and responsibility. Most people avoid accountability because it exposes inconsistency. But growth requires honest evaluation. A disciplined person studies their behavior carefully instead of blindly repeating harmful patterns. There will be moments when motivation disappears completely. During these moments, goals become especially important because they remind you why action still matters. Feelings change daily, but meaningful goals provide long-term direction. A person guided only by emotion becomes inconsistent. Some mornings energy feels strong, other mornings discouragement appears. If effort depends entirely on emotional state, progress becomes unstable. Goals create a reason to continue even when emotions become unreliable. This develops mental endurance. There is also wisdom in writing goals down physically. Thoughts held only in the mind are easier to ignore. Written goals create clarity and commitment. They become visible reminders of responsibility and direction. Review them regularly. The mind becomes distracted easily by temporary problems, daily stress, and external noise. Clear written goals help reconnect attention to what truly matters long-term. Another important lesson is learning to separate meaningful goals from unrealistic fantasy. Modern culture often encourages instant success, unrealistic lifestyles, and constant comparison. This creates pressure without patience. Real achievement usually requires years of steady effort. The strongest people are often not the most naturally talented. They are the most consistent. They continue working after excitement fades. They remain disciplined during slow progress. They accept discomfort as part of growth instead of seeing it as a reason to quit. Goals should strengthen character, not just produce external rewards. Building discipline, honesty, resilience, patience, emotional control, wisdom, and responsibility creates deeper fulfillment than temporary success alone. External achievement without inner strength often creates emptiness. A person may reach financial success while remaining emotionally unstable internally. Another may gain recognition while lacking peace, self-respect, or meaningful relationships. True growth includes both external progress and internal maturity. This balance matters greatly. Goals should improve the quality of your thinking, habits, relationships, health, and integrity, not only your appearance or status. A strong life is built from both achievement and character. One of the greatest dangers is becoming trapped in endless planning without action. Some people spend years thinking about goals, talking about goals, researching goals, and imagining goals, but never beginning. Action creates movement. A small step completed consistently matters more than endless intention without execution. Many opportunities disappear because fear delays action repeatedly. You do not need complete certainty before starting. Most successful people felt uncertain in the beginning. Confidence often appears after repeated effort, not before it. Waiting to feel perfectly prepared usually creates delay instead of progress. Begin imperfectly if necessary. A person learning a new skill will feel inexperienced initially. Someone rebuilding life after failure may feel insecure at first. Growth requires tolerance for discomfort, embarrassment, and temporary struggle. Goals push you beyond excuses because they demand responsibility. They force confrontation with habits that weaken progress. They reveal where discipline is missing. They expose distractions, procrastination, and fear honestly. This confrontation is valuable. Comfort rarely creates transformation. Pressure often reveals potential that easy living keeps hidden. A person discovers strength by facing challenges directly, not by avoiding them continuously. Another important truth is that not every goal will succeed exactly as planned. Sometimes effort leads to unexpected outcomes. Plans change, circumstances shift, failure happens. But disciplined pursuit still creates growth because the process builds experience, resilience, and wisdom. Failure handled correctly becomes education. A mature person learns without collapsing emotionally. They adjust strategies, improve weaknesses, and continue moving forward with greater understanding. Goals are not only about reaching destinations, they are about becoming stronger through pursuit. Life becomes more meaningful when actions connect to purpose. Waking up with direction changes energy. Difficult work feels more valuable when connected to something important. Sacrifice becomes easier when tied to long-term growth. A person with clear goals wastes less time proving themselves to others because their focus stays connected to personal progress. They become less distracted by comparison, gossip, and meaningless approval. Direction creates stability. The world constantly pulls attention toward comfort, distraction, and immediate pleasure. Clear goals protect the mind from becoming lost in temporary impulses. Every disciplined choice strengthens identity. Every excuse repeated weakens it. The future version of yourself is being shaped right now through repeated decisions. Do not underestimate the power of consistent, purposeful effort. Entire lives change through daily actions connected to meaningful goals. Health improves, confidence grows, financial situations evolve, emotional strength develops, skills expand, opportunities appear. But none of these changes happen accidentally. A person must choose direction intentionally. There will always be reasons to delay growth. Life will continue presenting difficulties, distractions, uncertainty, and fear. Excuses never disappear completely. This is why goals must become stronger than temporary comfort. Stand up each day knowing what matters. Protect your attention from meaningless distractions. Build habits aligned with your future. Continue working even when progress feels slow. One focused, disciplined day, repeated consistently, can reshape an entire life over time. Clear goals give those days meaning, direction, and strength. Chapter 8. Develop productive routines that increase confidence and inner strength. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people think confidence comes from appearance, money, attention, or natural talent. They believe confident people are simply born different from everyone else. But real confidence is usually built quietly through repeated actions that create trust within yourself. It grows when your habits begin matching your values. It strengthens when your daily routines prove that you can rely on your own discipline even when life becomes difficult. A person who constantly breaks promises to themselves slowly loses inner strength. Every ignored responsibility weakens self-respect. Every unfinished commitment creates silent frustration. Every habit of procrastination teaches the mind that comfort matters more than growth. Over time, this creates insecurity because deep inside the person knows they are capable of more than their current behavior reflects. Productive routines repair this relationship with yourself. A routine is not a prison. It is a structure that protects your energy, attention, and direction. Without structure, many people become emotionally reactive. They waste time making the same decisions repeatedly. They depend on mood for productivity. Some days they work hard, while other days they collapse into distraction because there is no stable system guiding behavior. Routines create consistency when emotions become unreliable. A person with productive habits does not need to negotiate with themselves every morning about whether to exercise, study, work, or improve. The decision has already been made through routine. This reduces mental chaos and increases stability. Mental energy is valuable. Every unnecessary decision drains focus gradually. A structured routine removes much of this exhaustion because important actions become automatic over time. The brain stops resisting productive behavior as strongly when repetition creates familiarity. This is why disciplined people often appear calmer. They are not wasting energy fighting themselves constantly. Their habits carry them forward, even during low motivation. A productive routine becomes a form of support during stressful periods because it provides order when emotions feel unstable. Inner strength develops through repeated self-leadership. When you wake up consistently, complete important tasks, care for your health, and manage your responsibilities, you begin proving something important to yourself. You begin proving that your future matters enough to deserve daily effort. This proof builds confidence more deeply than compliments ever can. External praise feels temporary because it depends on other people. Real confidence grows internally through evidence. Evidence created by action. Evidence created by discipline. Evidence created when you continue improving even without applause. Many people feel emotionally weak because their days lack intention. They drift from distraction to distraction, reacting to life instead of directing it. Their routines are built around convenience instead of purpose. Hours disappear through meaningless habits that leave no lasting value behind. At the end of the day, they feel empty because nothing meaningful was strengthened. A productive routine changes this experience completely. Even simple daily habits can create a stronger mind when practiced consistently. Waking up at a reasonable time, organizing your environment, exercising regularly, reading useful information, completing responsibilities before entertainment, reflecting on mistakes honestly. These actions seem ordinary, but repeated long enough they shape character. Character is built through repetition. The person you become is influenced heavily by what you do daily, not occasionally. Occasional motivation cannot compete with consistent routine. Small, disciplined actions repeated for months and years create powerful transformation gradually. One important truth many people ignore is that routines should support your real life, not create unnecessary exhaustion. Some individuals build unrealistic schedules filled with impossible expectations. They try to change everything immediately, then feel overwhelmed when perfection becomes impossible. Sustainable discipline grows steadily. A productive routine should challenge you enough to create growth, while remaining realistic enough to maintain consistently. Simplicity often works better than complexity. A few meaningful habits, practiced daily, create more change than an extreme routine abandoned after 1 week. Another major benefit of routines is emotional stability. Chaos in daily life often creates emotional chaos internally. When sleep becomes inconsistent, food becomes careless, responsibilities pile up and distractions dominate attention. Stress increases naturally. The mind feels scattered because life lacks structure. Order creates calmness. A clean environment can improve focus. Consistent sleep improves emotional control. Planned work periods reduce anxiety caused by procrastination. Physical movement improves mental clarity. These routines influence emotional health more than many people realize. Confidence also grows when a person becomes competent. Competence develops through repetition and practice. Someone who studies consistently becomes more knowledgeable. A person who trains their body regularly feels physically stronger. A person who practices communication improves socially over time. Skill development changes self-perception. Many insecurities shrink when ability increases. A person who once doubted themselves begins recognizing progress. This creates grounded confidence, because improvement is based on real growth, not fantasy. Productive routines help create this growth by ensuring effort happens regularly. Another important lesson is learning how to protect routines from distractions. Modern life constantly competes for attention. Endless entertainment, social media, unnecessary arguments, and emotional drama can destroy productivity quietly. A weak routine collapses whenever distraction appears. A strong routine survives because priorities remain clear. This requires boundaries. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every notification requires attention. Not every conversation deserves emotional energy. Protecting your routines means protecting your future. Many people say they want confidence while continuing habits that weaken self-respect daily. They avoid difficult tasks, ignore responsibility, neglect health, and waste carelessly, then wonder why they feel insecure internally. Confidence cannot grow inside repeated self-neglect. A disciplined routine communicates something powerful to the mind. It says you are capable of handling responsibility. It says your life deserves care, structure, and intentional effort. These messages strengthen identity over time. There will still be difficult days. Some mornings motivation will disappear. Some evenings exhaustion will feel heavy. Some periods of life will become emotionally painful. During these moments, routines become even more valuable because they create stability. A person without routines often collapses completely during stressful seasons. Healthy habits disappear immediately. Sleep becomes chaotic. Productivity stops. Emotional reactions take control. But a person with disciplined routines usually recovers faster because structure remains available even during struggle. Routine creates resilience. One workout completed during a stressful week protects discipline. One healthy meal chosen during emotional pain protects self-respect. One focused work session completed during discouragement strengthens mental endurance. Small actions matter greatly during hard times. Another hidden benefit of productive routines is reduced overthinking. Many people suffer mentally because they spend too much time inside their thoughts without enough meaningful action. Anxiety grows when the mind lacks direction. Purposeful routines redirect attention toward growth. A person focused on responsibilities, health, learning, and improvement has less space available for endless mental spiraling. Action grounds the mind in reality. This does not mean routines should eliminate rest or enjoyment completely. Recovery matters. A disciplined person understands the difference between intentional rest and careless avoidance. Healthy recovery restores energy, while destructive habits drain it further. Balance matters deeply. A productive life should include moments of peace, reflection, connection, and restoration. Constant exhaustion is not strength. Wise discipline includes caring for physical, emotional, and mental health consistently. Another important part of building inner strength is learning to complete tasks even when nobody is watching. Many people perform well only when external pressure exists. They need deadlines, praise, or supervision to stay productive. Real discipline develops privately. The ability to work honestly without constant validation creates independence. A person who can lead themselves consistently becomes mentally stronger because they are no longer controlled completely by external approval. Private habits shape public results. The quiet decisions made daily eventually become visible through confidence, health, emotional stability, and competence. People often admire results without understanding the routines that created them slowly over time. Inner strength is rarely built through dramatic moments alone. It grows through ordinary discipline repeated quietly, through choosing growth instead of excuses repeatedly, through maintaining standards even during low motivation, through caring for responsibility consistently instead of emotionally. Productive routines also improve relationships because emotionally stable, disciplined people communicate differently. They become more reliable, more patient, more present, more trustworthy. Their words carry greater weight because their actions show consistency. People trust consistency. A person who manages themselves well often creates calmer, healthier environments around others naturally. Their discipline influences conversations, decisions, and emotional energy positively. There is also dignity in becoming dependable for yourself. Many people wait for rescue motivation or perfect circumstances before improving life. A stronger mindset develops when you realize daily habits shape the future more than temporary emotion ever will. Every routine either strengthens or weakens you. Daily choices are never completely neutral. Repeated laziness weakens discipline. Repeated distraction weakens focus. Repeated irresponsibility weakens character. But repeated productive action strengthens confidence gradually. This process requires patience. Real transformation usually happens slowly enough that people barely notice it day by day. Then one morning they realize they think differently, react differently, and carry themselves differently than before. The insecure version of themselves begins fading because routines created evidence of growth consistently. There is power in becoming the kind of person who follows through. A person who wakes up when planned, completes important work, protects health, keeps learning, manages emotions responsibly, maintains order during difficult seasons. These qualities create quiet confidence that does not need constant attention from others. The world rejects people who can manage themselves well because self-management has become rare. Many individuals live controlled by impulses, distractions, moods, and temporary pleasure. Few people develop the ability to direct their own behavior consistently toward long-term growth. That ability creates freedom. A strong routine is not about becoming perfect. It is about creating a life where productive behavior becomes more natural than self-destruction. It is about building systems that help you become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more disciplined over time. Every productive habit practiced today becomes part of the person you are becoming tomorrow. Your routines are shaping your identity whether you realize it or not. Choose routines that build confidence instead of regret. Choose habits that create strength instead of weakness. Choose actions that make your future self proud instead of disappointed. Inner strength is built daily through repeated intentional living, and confidence grows each time your actions prove that you are serious about becoming better. Chapter 9. Protect your time from people who drain motivation. Time is one of the few things every human being receives equally each day. Rich or poor, confident or insecure, disciplined or distracted, every person wakes up with the same 24 hours. Yet, the difference between an improving life and a stagnant life often comes down to how hours are protected. Many people do not lose their future because they lack ability. They lose it because too much of their energy, attention, and motivation is constantly being drained by the wrong people. Some individuals quietly weaken your discipline without ever touching your goals directly. They waste your focus through endless negativity. They normalize laziness. They laugh at ambition. They encourage distraction. They bring drama, confusion, and emotional exhaustion into your life repeatedly. After spending time around them, you feel mentally heavier, emotionally weaker, and less connected to your purpose. This influence matters more than most people realize. Human beings absorb energy from their environment constantly. Conversations, attitude, behaviors, and habits spread through repeated exposure. Spend enough time around people who complain constantly, and your own thinking begins becoming more negative. Stay surrounded by individuals who avoid responsibility and discipline slowly feels unnecessary. Environment shapes mindset quietly. Many people underestimate how much their social circle affects their future. They focus on productivity routines and goals, while continuing to spend most of their time around people who destroy motivation daily. This creates internal conflict because growth becomes difficult inside environments that reward mediocrity. Not everyone wants to improve themselves. Some people become uncomfortable when they see discipline in others because it reminds them of the changes they keep avoiding within themselves. Instead of becoming inspired, they try to pull ambitious people back toward comfort. This often appears subtly. A person begins taking health seriously, and suddenly others mock their routine. Someone starts focusing on goals, and people accuse them of changing. A person becomes more disciplined with time, and others complain they are becoming distant. Growth sometimes creates resistance from those committed to staying the same. This does not mean everyone around you must be perfect, successful, or highly ambitious. Human connection matters deeply. Compassion matters. Loyalty matters. But there is a major difference between supportive, imperfect people and individuals who repeatedly drain your energy while encouraging self-destruction. Wise people learn to recognize the difference. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you feel encouraged or emotionally exhausted? More focused or more distracted? More disciplined or more careless? More hopeful or more negative? People influence your emotional direction whether you notice it immediately or not. Some individuals live in constant crisis. Every conversation becomes drama, conflict, gossip, complaints, or emotional chaos. They rarely speak about solutions, growth, or responsibility. They consume attention endlessly while giving very little positivity, clarity, or encouragement in return. Spending too much time in these environments weakens mental strength. The mind becomes overloaded by unnecessary emotional noise. Focus disappears. Motivation fades. Important goals lose energy because emotional exhaustion steals attention. Protecting your time is not selfish, it is necessary. A person who constantly sacrifices their peace, focus, and emotional stability to please everyone eventually loses connection to their own growth. Many people become trapped in unhealthy relationships, friendships, or social environments because they fear disappointing others. But avoiding discomfort today often creates greater suffering later. You cannot build a strong future while allowing every negative influence unlimited access to your attention. Boundaries become essential. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity about what you will and will not allow into your life consistently. A disciplined person understands that time, energy, and emotional capacity are limited resources. They stop giving unlimited access to people who repeatedly damage those resources. Many individuals struggle with boundaries because they confuse kindness with self-abandonment. Being kind does not require tolerating constant disrespect, manipulation, or emotional draining behavior. You can care about people without allowing them to destroy your peace and direction repeatedly. Another important truth is that motivation is fragile during the early stages of growth. When someone begins changing habits, building discipline, or pursuing goals, confidence is still developing. Negative environments can easily weaken progress during this stage. Constant criticism, sarcasm, or discouragement slowly damages momentum. This is why supportive relationships matter deeply. Healthy people challenge you without destroying your confidence. They encourage responsibility without humiliation. They respect your growth instead of mocking it. They celebrate improvement instead of feeling threatened by it. The right people strengthen discipline naturally. Conversations become more meaningful. Ideas become clearer. Goals feel more possible. Emotional stability improves because encouragement replaces constant negativity. You do not need many people to build a strong life. A few honest, supportive, disciplined individuals can influence your future more positively than large groups focused only on distraction and temporary pleasure. Quality matters more than quantity. Some people fear being alone so much that they remain connected to unhealthy environments endlessly. They tolerate disrespect, chaos, and negativity because silence feels uncomfortable. But loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Solitude can strengthen clarity. Time alone allows reflection, growth, and emotional recovery. Many people never discover who they truly are because they remain constantly surrounded by noise, opinions, and unhealthy influence. A calm period of solitude often reveals important truths. You begin noticing which relationships genuinely support your well-being and which ones quietly weaken your mind. You recognize how much energy has been wasted trying to please people who never respected your goals. You see how much potential has been delayed by environments built around excuses instead of growth. This awareness can feel painful, but it is necessary. Protecting your motivation also means protecting conversations carefully. Words influence emotional state powerfully. Endless gossip, criticism, and negativity poison the mind gradually. Some people spend hours discussing other people's lives while completely neglecting their own improvement. This habit creates stagnation. A focused person spends more energy building than criticizing. They become careful about what enters their mind daily because they understand repeated conversations shape thinking patterns. There is wisdom in reducing unnecessary arguments as well. Not every disagreement deserves your emotional energy. Some people constantly seek conflict, attention, or drama. Engaging with every provocation drains focus from meaningful goals. Emotional discipline sometimes means walking away quietly. Protecting your peace often requires refusing to participate in toxic cycles repeatedly. A mature person learns that proving themselves to everyone is unnecessary. Another dangerous influence comes from people who normalize wasting time. Hours disappear through meaningless conversations, endless entertainment, careless behavior, and unproductive habits. When everyone around you lives without direction, discipline starts feeling unusual instead of necessary. Standards matter. If your environment celebrates distraction while criticizing discipline, eventually your mind begins questioning healthy habits. This is why intentional environments are powerful. Spend more time around people who respect effort, honesty, growth, and accountability. Observe how disciplined individuals manage time, emotions, and responsibilities. Healthy influence creates healthy thinking. You become stronger when your environment encourages your better qualities instead of your weaker impulses. This also applies to digital environments. Many people are surrounded by negativity through screens constantly. Endless comparison arguments, outrage, fear, and unhealthy content quietly damage emotional stability. Not every voice deserves access to your attention. Be intentional about what you watch, listen to, and consume daily. The mind absorbs repeated information, whether you realize it or not. Another difficult lesson is understanding that some relationships change naturally as you grow. This can feel uncomfortable because history creates emotional attachment. But growth often changes priorities, values, and habits. Not everyone will understand your transformation. Some people connected to the old version of you may resist the disciplined, focused person you are becoming. They may prefer the version that accepted distraction, tolerated unhealthy habits, and avoided responsibility alongside them. Do not feel guilty for evolving. Growth sometimes requires distance from environments that no longer align with your future. This does not require hatred, bitterness, or arrogance. It simply requires honesty about what helps your life and what harms it. Protecting your time also means learning how to say no without endless explanation. Many people overcommit themselves trying to satisfy everyone. They say yes to activities, conversations, and obligations that drain energy needed for important goals. Then they feel exhausted, frustrated, and emotionally scattered. Every unnecessary commitment costs something. Sometimes it costs focus, sometimes peace, sometimes sleep, health, discipline, or emotional stability. Wise people choose commitments carefully because they understand every yes also means saying no to something else. You cannot build a meaningful life while giving your attention away carelessly. Time once wasted never fully returns. Entire years disappear through environments that encourage distraction over purpose. This should create awareness, not fear. Be honest about who influences your habits, who encourages your growth, who drains your energy repeatedly, who respects your goals, who weakens your discipline. These questions matter because relationships shape direction more than many people admit. One supportive conversation can inspire progress. One toxic environment repeated daily can destroy motivation slowly. The strongest people are often extremely protective of their mental space. They are careful about who receives access to their emotions, thoughts, goals, and attention. This is not coldness, it is wisdom developed through experience. A person who values their future cannot allow endless negativity to dominate their life. Protect your mornings from chaotic voices. Protect your evenings from draining conversations. Protect your focus from people committed to distraction. Protect your emotional energy from those who constantly create conflict without growth. The life you want requires emotional space, mental clarity, and focused effort. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to those things. You are responsible for the environment surrounding your mind daily. If your motivation keeps disappearing, examine the people, conversations, and influences around you honestly. Sometimes the problem is not lack of potential. Sometimes the problem is constant exposure to people who weaken your belief in yourself quietly. Choose relationships that strengthen discipline instead of destroying it. Choose environments that support peace instead of emotional chaos. Choose conversations that encourage growth instead of endless negativity. A strong future requires protecting your time carefully because your life is being shaped by what repeatedly receives your attention and energy. Chapter 10. Master small daily improvements that create lasting personal growth. Most people want dramatic transformation. They want immediate confidence, immediate success, immediate discipline, and immediate results. They imagine personal growth as one powerful moment where everything changes overnight. But real transformation rarely works that way. Lasting growth is usually built through small daily improvements repeated so consistently that they quietly reshape an entire life over time. The danger of chasing dramatic change is that people often lose patience with slow progress. They begin something new with excitement, but quit when results are not immediate. They mistake gradual improvement for failure. Because of this, many people spend years starting over instead of continuing long enough to truly evolve. Small improvements seem insignificant in the beginning. Reading 10 pages may not feel life-changing today. Exercising for 20 minutes may not feel powerful immediately. Saving a small amount of money may seem unimportant. Waking up slightly earlier may appear meaningless. Speaking more calmly during one difficult conversation may not seem extraordinary. But repeated daily, these actions begin shaping identity. A person becomes healthier through repeated physical care. Wisdom grows through consistent learning. Emotional maturity develops through repeated self-awareness. Financial stability grows through disciplined habits practiced over time. Character strengthens through ordinary responsible decisions made consistently. The future is built quietly. Many people ignore small habits because they are searching for intense motivation instead of steady progress. They underestimate the power of repetition. Yet repetition is what shapes nearly every aspect of human life. A weak body becomes stronger through repeated training. A distracted mind becomes focused through repeated concentration. A patient person develops patience through repeated emotional discipline. What you practice repeatedly becomes easier over time. This is why daily improvements matter more than occasional bursts of effort. Extreme motivation may create temporary action, but consistent habits create lasting change. One major reason people stay stuck is because they focus too heavily on how far they still need to go, instead of appreciating small progress already happening. They compare themselves constantly to people further ahead and become discouraged. This mindset destroys momentum because it turns growth into frustration instead of development. Patience is necessary for meaningful transformation. A tree does not grow overnight. Muscles do not strengthen after one workout. Emotional healing does not happen instantly. Personal growth requires repetition, time, and consistency. The strongest people understand this deeply. They continue improving even when progress feels slow because they trust the process of daily effort. Small improvements also create psychological momentum. When a person completes one productive action, they often feel more capable of completing another. Cleaning one area leads to organizing another. One workout encourages healthier eating. One disciplined morning influences the rest of the day positively. Positive momentum creates internal energy. The opposite is also true. Neglect often spreads. One careless decision leads to another. One wasted day becomes several. This is why small choices matter so much. Habits grow through repetition, whether they strengthen or weaken your future. A disciplined person pays attention to daily patterns carefully. Many people wait for life-changing opportunities while ignoring the power of ordinary days. But ordinary days create extraordinary outcomes when used wisely. Every day contains opportunities to improve mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually through small intentional actions. Growth is not hidden inside rare moments alone. It exists in repeated behavior. The way you speak to people daily matters. The way you manage stress daily matters. The way you handle responsibilities daily matters. The books you read, the thoughts you entertain, the habits you repeat, and the choices you make quietly shape who you become. Another important truth is that small improvements strengthen self-respect. Each time you follow through on a healthy habit, you send a message to yourself. You prove that your future deserves effort. You show yourself that discipline is possible. This creates inner trust gradually. Many people struggle with confidence because they continuously abandon their own commitments. They promise change, then repeat destructive habits. Over time, they stop believing in themselves fully because their actions repeatedly contradict their intentions. Small, disciplined improvements repair this relationship slowly. A person who consistently keeps promises to themselves develops quiet confidence. Not arrogance, not ego. Calm confidence rooted in evidence. Evidence created through repeated action. This process requires honesty. A person must stop searching for shortcuts and accept that meaningful growth is often slow, repetitive, and sometimes uncomfortable. Modern culture encourages instant gratification constantly. Fast entertainment, fast results, fast approval. Because of this, many people become impatient with the natural pace of personal development. But life rewards consistency more than intensity. A person who improves 1% daily for years becomes unrecognizable compared to someone who waits endlessly for perfect motivation. Small improvements are especially powerful because they feel manageable. Extreme change often creates resistance because the brain becomes overwhelmed. But smaller actions are easier to repeat consistently. Someone afraid of exercise may begin with a short walk. A person wanting emotional control may begin with one calm pause before reacting. An individual improving focus may start with 10 uninterrupted minutes of concentration daily. These actions appear simple, but they create identity shifts gradually. Identity changes when behavior changes repeatedly. A person who exercises consistently begins viewing themselves differently. Someone who reads daily starts identifying as a learner. A person who manages emotions responsibly begins seeing themselves as calmer and stronger internally. The mind follows repeated evidence. Another hidden strength of small improvements is resilience during difficult periods. Large, unrealistic goals often collapse completely during stressful seasons. But smaller, disciplined habits can survive hard times more easily. A person may not have energy for an intense workout during emotional exhaustion, but they can still stretch, walk, or move their body slightly. Someone may struggle to focus deeply during stress, but can still read a few pages or complete one meaningful task. Progress maintained imperfectly is still valuable. This mindset prevents the dangerous cycle of quitting entirely whenever life becomes difficult. A strong person understands that consistency matters more than perfection. Another important lesson is learning how to celebrate progress without becoming complacent. Many people only acknowledge success when massive results appear. They ignore small victories completely. This creates constant dissatisfaction because the mind becomes trained to overlook growth. Notice your improvements honestly. Notice increased patience during situations that once triggered anger. Notice healthier decisions replacing old habits. Notice stronger focus, better communication, greater self-awareness, increased discipline. These changes matter deeply because they represent real transformation happening gradually beneath the surface. Growth often becomes visible internally before it appears externally. Many people quit too early because they cannot yet see physical proof of progress. But the mind is changing, habits are changing, reactions are changing. Discipline is strengthening quietly. Trust the process enough to continue. One major obstacle to daily improvement is perfectionism. Some people believe if they cannot perform perfectly, there is no point trying at all. This mindset creates paralysis because perfection is impossible. Perfection is not required for growth. Improvement requires effort, honesty, and consistency, not flawless performance. A person who misses one day can continue the next day. Someone who makes mistakes can learn and adjust. Failure does not erase progress unless quitting follows it. Another powerful daily improvement involves attention management. Where attention goes, energy follows. A person constantly focused on negativity, comparison, and distraction weakens mental clarity. Someone intentionally feeding their mind useful information strengthens thinking over time. Protect your mind carefully. Read material that expands wisdom. Listen to conversations that encourage growth. Spend time with disciplined, thoughtful people. Limit exposure to influences that weaken your focus, peace, or ambition. Small improvements in environment create major changes in mindset. The same principle applies to physical surroundings. A clean, organized environment influences emotional state differently than chaos and neglect. Simple acts of organization create clarity because external order often supports internal order. Personal growth is connected to every area of life. Health affects focus. Focus affects productivity. Productivity affects confidence. Confidence affects relationships. Relationships affect emotional stability. Everything connects. This is why small intentional improvements compound powerfully over time. One healthy habit often influences several areas positively at once. A person who sleeps better thinks more clearly. Clear thinking improves decisions. Better decisions improve emotional stability and discipline. The results continue spreading gradually. Growth compounds quietly. Another important truth is that discipline eventually becomes easier than self-neglect. Many people assume disciplined living creates suffering, while comfort creates happiness. But repeated self-neglect often creates greater pain long-term. Poor habits damage health, confidence, relationships, and peace of mind. Constant procrastination creates anxiety. Emotional impulsiveness damages trust. Lack of structure creates stress. Small improvements prevent these problems from growing larger over time. A person committed to growth begins solving problems while they are still manageable, instead of waiting until life becomes overwhelming. This creates inner stability. The strongest individuals are not necessarily those who avoid hardship completely. They are often people who consistently improve themselves despite hardship. They adapt, learn, adjust, and continue moving forward through small disciplined actions. There is wisdom in understanding that life itself is shaped through accumulation. Years are built from days. Character is built from habits. Destiny is built from repeated choices. What feels small today may become life-changing later. One disciplined conversation may save a relationship. One healthy financial habit may create future stability. 1 hour spent learning daily may open opportunities years later. One decision to stay calm during difficulty may strengthen emotional maturity permanently. Never underestimate small improvements repeated consistently. They shape identity slowly until one day you realize you think differently, act differently, and carry yourself differently than before. The weak version of yourself disappears gradually, not suddenly. This process requires commitment, not temporary excitement, not emotional intensity, quiet, consistent commitment to becoming better little by little. You do not need to transform your entire life in one day. You need to improve something meaningful today, then repeat tomorrow, and continue repeating long enough for those small improvements to become part of who you are. A meaningful life is rarely built through dramatic moments alone. It is built through ordinary, disciplined actions practiced long after excitement fades. The people who create lasting growth understand this deeply. They stop chasing shortcuts and begin respecting daily effort. Every small improvement matters. Every responsible choice matters. Every disciplined action matters. The future version of you is being shaped right now by habits that may seem small, but are becoming permanent through repetition. Protect those habits carefully, because they are building your life one day at a time.